Once upon a time, there was a dark forest. And as you're wandering this dark forest, which holds a vast amount of secrets, treasures, but also dangers, you're a little individual that is helpless and defenseless in this dark forest. And if we think about it, that is pretty much what most blockchains are today. And as you're walking towards the light on your path that is dark and unclear where it's going, you see that there's bad creatures in the dark forest that do not have your best interest at heart. And along with the dark creatures that you're facing on your path through this dark forest, the dark forest is dying. The dark forest doesn't provide protection for the individuals that try to wander and graze through the dark forest. So I would like us to think about, is there hope? Can we maybe regrow the dark forest for protection of the individuals that are going through these autonomous, weird ecologies that we're facing here? I think yes. My name is Sebastian. I'm founder of Hopper, and I want to talk to you about how Web3 privacy infrastructure is a crucial element to bring protection, not just by decentralization, but by privacy, because naive decentralization is going to get us all more wrecked than Web2 does today. That's the point I'm trying to make for the next 15 minutes. So first of all, what's the problem? Well, if you're wandering through the dark forest and somebody's pointing a spotlight in your face, it's probably not good, right? But that is what is happening as you're interfacing pretty much any peer-to-peer technologies today. The one part that I will be focusing on primarily is the most fundamental layer of these peer-to-peer networks, that is data transport. Any transmission of data from A to B. And I would like us to think for a second about the end game. We heard some great insights from the Urbit team. I really like this long-term thinking of like, where does this end up? And starting with the dystopian picture that I started with is, well, if we just go for naive decentralization, we have all these amazing decentralized technologies. They're open to everyone, right? They're not just open to us as users. They're open to the data harvesting crooks of the old world. They will look at Cypherpunk and say, hey, that's great. Regulations don't apply to me. I can do whatever I want to. These guys are not going to stay out of, permissionless technologies. So in my mind, strong privacy tech is an insurance policy that protects the individual from data harvesting forces that are guaranteed to enter the Web3 era. We see that today, right? We see billion-dollar data harvesting entities in the Web2. We start seeing actually as a first indicator, we see billion-dollar data harvesting economies in the Web3. And while we're being gaslighted that some of that is actually positive, I don't think so. Data harvesting will ultimately be used against the individual. So again, strong privacy technologies are our insurance policy to prevent that from happening, to make sure that the end game of truly decentralized technologies is safe for everyone. And the one that we are working on Hopper, that I will dive into in a bit more detail now, is on the transport side. You might ask, how bad is that really? So let's check it out. I'm going to do a demo that is on Ethereum. Who here is an Ethereum user, like at least once in their lifetime? Yes, Cosmos people, you can show off your hands. I don't judge. All right, so what I'm going to show you is, we call it DERP. It's a dumb Ethereum RPC provider. So what is this? It's a simple tool that visualizes what is going on in your wallet. You can add this to any wallet today. It's more interesting on a desktop side, as you'll see in a second. So what you see is a table that will show all the requests that my wallet is making. So what we're doing here is I'm proxying requests, and these requests are being echoed back to the website. So that's what this derp site does. And what is actually kind of funny, it's front-running my presentation a little bit here. My wallet, even though I'm not using it right now, it's already doing some requests, right? So it's doing some quite benign-looking ETH block number request, which is just asking my RPC provider, hey, what is the current block number? Similar to kind of what time is it right now, right? So even though I'm not using my wallet, you already see it's doing some background traffic. You might say, hey, so what, right? Well, it's pinging home, right? It's already saying, hey, there's somebody using a wallet, and it is disclosing my IP address. So you all see I'm currently connected to my mobile hotspot. You see where we are from. Yeah, so much about private information not leaking. This is information which the RPC provider sees. And beyond that, there's more metadata that it shares, right? So despite the fact that that's just a benign-looking browser plugin that I'm using, I'm going a little bit boomer here, and I'm going to just use MetaMask. So yeah, you disclose a bunch of things, right? So you see that I'm on some Linux system here, and you see some information about my system. Again, private information that is leaking out there that can be used against me. Now, so far not much happening. Let's see what happens when I open up my wallet. So I have an account here. It's actually the Hopper Dev Bank. And what do we see? Okay, we see an ETH get balance, which kind of makes sense, right? Your wallet, like I want to see what's my balance when I load up my wallet. So that makes sense, this ETH get balance request. That's the second one here. That's weird. Why does my wallet make a second request? So ETH get balance, by the way, for the ones who haven't seen these requests, right? What's going on here? This ETH get balance is sent to the RPC provider. Like wallets call this a network. Again, great marketing move. This is a server, okay? Whenever you see network, this usually today in a centralized Web3 translates to somebody else's server that I trust. And I trust not just with sending me authentic data, but I also trust to not abuse my private information. So this is sending it my wallet address, and it's sending it, I think this is the block number in hex. So it's telling me, hey, please give me the balance at this point in time of this balance. Now, what is interesting is MetaMask is firing off a second request. Okay, what could that be? Any ideas? Why does my MetaMask send some random second request? Like, that doesn't make sense. It's another account. I got doxxed. That's pretty embarrassing. So I have this account, which I'm willing to use, but indeed, that was 100% correct. I have a second account on here. And if you look at this, so if you look at the address, so 240, that's the second one here, 240, and if I switch over to the first one, you see it starts with 0xFC2. Indeed, 100% correct. So despite the fact that I was not even connected to this account, this is information which leaks to the RPC provider. So, I know a lot of us are around here collecting POAPs. POAPs dox you. That's fine, right? I mean, you see my face. I'm doxed anyway. That's fair enough. But now maybe I connect my POAP account to my, random personal savings account. Why would that information be linkable to the RPC provider with my IP address being the primary identifier? To me, that's an issue. And this issue is only getting bigger as we decentralize. So coming back to my initial statement of naive decentralization, once we decentralize infrastructures such as RPC providers, which maybe today we trust, I have no reason to believe that Joe Lubin is inherently a bad guy. Maybe I don't like JP Morgan as his biggest investor, and they've been proven to be the biggest crooks, on the financial world. But whatever. Let's say we trust them. Would we trust these folks in a truly decentralized way where there's no trust assumptions? True decentralization means we have no trust assumptions as to the parties we are actually interacting with. So again, privacy is our insurance policy to prevent us from getting hardcore data harvested without limits. So yeah, you see a bunch of things that are going on here. You see, my wallet is querying fee history and so on. I don't want to get too deep into what is going on here, even though it's actually kind of educational if you really want to understand how Ethereum wallets work. I would like to talk with you now about solutions. So what we work on at Hopper, as I like to pick up the analogy, helps us regrow the dark forest to provide protection for individual users' private data. So we see Hopper as transport layer that is privacy enabling for any sort of Web3 applications. And thinking about this end game, I want all of this infrastructure to be truly decentralized. But again, as we just established, that means there is no trust assumptions that I can have as to the node operators in these networks. We need a privacy foundation, and that's what we're working on. So I know some of that sounded a little bit abstract, so let me get into the details. Just briefly, how does Hopper work? So we're working on this decentralized packet relay network, so where data packets are hopping around a network and getting relayed. That's where the name Hopper comes from. And by having data packets that hop around this network, you obfuscate where data came from and where it goes to. And probably when I show this, the first question from the people who looked into privacy tech before are saying, hey, Sebastian, that looks very much like Tor. And that's correct, right? So Tor actually works in a very similar fashion where you have onion encryption and multi-hop routing, which obfuscates where data came from and where it goes to. There's one point where Hopper provides significant additional privacy guarantees, and that is we employ packet mixing. That's why Hopper is also called a mixnet. So what happens here is that on every node on this decentralized packet relay network that I showed in the previous slide, data packets are cached for a short amount of time, mixed and transformed before they are being sent out. And this transformation and shuffling means even a strong adversary cannot link incoming and outgoing traffic. And that's why mixnets provide way stronger privacy guarantees than VPNs or even Tor. And the second angle where Hopper differentiates from Tor is Tor has not really been sustainably growing. And I know this is a privacy-focused event, so I hope there's some Tor node runners in the room. Most of you probably don't run Hopper nodes. And probably there's more ETH stakers in the room than there's Tor node runners. And the question is why? Well, we're not that naive, so the answer is because there's no incentives. So at Hopper, what we're building is an incentive structure that is privacy respecting and provides a cheat-proof incentive for this data relay infrastructure. So just very briefly, how does it work? So as data packets are hopping around, that's visualized on top. You see this onion encryption, and every hop takes one onion encryption shell of the payload. There's a second parallel move of funds that is visualized on the bottom. And that's what we call proof of relay, which is a cheat-proof and privacy-respecting incentive mechanism. So Chow will get their payment only if they received a key half from the next downstream node, right? So only when you actually forward the packet correctly, you will get a key half from that next downstream node. And only with that key half, you can get rewarded for your job. And that's how Hopper is in a bottom-up fashion cheat-proof, because the network is set up so that if one party cheats, the next upstream party would not collaborate with them any further because they themselves are losing out. So it's using crypto-economic incentives to provide infrastructure that is privacy respecting. Cool. So after we've established how Hopper works, we are ready to, as we say, change data privacy for good. Let's look at a specific example of that. I would like to show you, and it's something that we launched for the very first time in Denver this week, RPC over Hopper. So we're using this general purpose data relay infrastructure that I've introduced in the previous slides for RPC services. So to solve this problem that I introduced in the beginning, to basically help us stay private as we use public blockchains such as Ethereum today. And to be clear, I'm not going to talk about anything on the on-chain privacy side. There's amazing projects here that focus on exactly that. We need on-chain privacy. But in fact, we need privacy across the stack of technologies. Only holistic, full-stack privacy brings us meaningful privacy that is powerful and protects the individual. So what we're doing here on RPCH is basically using that currently in a first iteration to interface Ethereum wallets. So what I'm going to demo, I'm just going to open that up, is RPCH. So wish me luck. This is an alpha release that got released on Sunday. yeah, so let's see how this works. So there's two ways of using RPCH today. You can use Block Wallet, the Block Wallet extension, which is a privacy-focused. It's a privacy-focused Ethereum wallet. You can download it from the Chrome store. If you don't trust us here, you shouldn't trust us. You can download it off of GitHub and run the unpacked extension in your Chrome or Brave browser. If you have another favorite wallet, you might not want to use and switch another wallet, that's cool. You can download a Docker container that is locally running an Ethereum RPC server to which you can connect from any Ethereum or EVM compatible wallet. So that's quite cool because it means you can use RPCH from any EVM compatible chain from any wallet. So that's the last thing I'm just gonna briefly demo here. You can check this out. So this thing, since we're in alpha, again, there be dragons, right? But yeah, it's free of charge until we figure this out. So, what's going on here? So I'm going to start this Docker container, and again, it looks weird, but you can just copy paste it, or if you understand what you're doing, you can check it out on GitHub. Obviously, all of this is free and open source software. Yes, you can troll me by screenshotting my secret. Again, it's free of charge, so I don't care. So now I have locally running this Ethereum RPC server, and this Ethereum RPC server is, on the other hand, kind of translating your requests, breaking it down into indistinguishable looking packets that is sent through hopper nodes, through multiple hops in the network to an exit nodes, which glues them together again and sends them to an RPC provider. So I have, in my previous example, I had connected this derp provider to Gnosis Chain. And we've seen, and we still see that there's, oh wow, look at that, I have a very chatty wallet. How these requests are being sent through derp. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep using the same endpoint, and I'm going to just switch it over to send transactions through RPCH, which leverages the Hopper network. So you still see stuff keeps going here. I keep exposing data, so whoever is the provider here learns that Sebastian's wallet is still online. I have this already set up, so I'm going to connect to Gnosis Chain via RPCH. Cool. So we see no more requests coming in here. Gets a little bit busy on that screen. That's like a pretty verbose debug output. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a simple transaction. I'm going to send myself some XDAI on Gnosis Chain. So I'm just going to swap it from one account to another. Cool, so now it's obtaining the gas price. So these requests are being sent through the network. Let's see if they come through. Yes, it seems like my wallet was informed of what is the latest gas price. And now I'm broadcasting and sending a transaction. So the payload is getting a little bit bigger. And yes, it seems I got a response. Cool. See if that worked. Yes, it worked. So we made a private Gnosis Chain transaction using RPCH on top of Gnosis Chain. And as we can see on this derp endpoint here, there were no further requests coming in anymore. So that's a quick demo of how we can use RPCH as a first private RPC provider. And yeah, so I would basically close it here. Yes, you can have private RPC provider. Check it out on access.rpch.net. If you have feedback, please come back to us. Happy to help. Thank you so much.